courage is the decision you make to act in a way that works through your own fear for the greater good, as opposed to pure self-interest. Courage means putting at risk your immediate self-interest for what you believe is right. Derek Bell. The Walking Dead, Season 1, Episode 2, Guts. Hello everyone, and thank you guys for listening again. I know a few of you guys have listened, and I'm very excited for this next episode of Feed, Don't Eat Your Brain. With us, we have Olivia Ockey. I said your name correctly. Olivia Ockey.
Heyo.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm an actor. I am obsessed with creepy things, scary movies, haunted houses, scary video games. Zombies are great. That's me.
Yeah, that's kind of what we vibe with as friends. I don't know how to say that.
That's great, yeah.
we were coworkers, and it took a while for us to first she became really good friends with my wife, and then, I watched her play Last of Us 1 and 2, and then we both love The Walking Dead. We played the Telltale series together. So yeah, we're both zombie fanatics, so I figured she would be great to have on the second episode. So without further ado, first, do you wanna discuss anything?
I mean, I have a lot of things,
okay.
But
so
you should tell me what you want to talk about first.
All right, I'll just bring this up. So I want to talk about group safety versus self-interest versus charity. So at the beginning, Glenn is helping Rick, and but then that becomes an issue for the group because Glenn helped Rick, and then Merle isn't helping anyone, but he's acting in his own self-interest, and they're blaming it on Rick, but yet Merle is sniping zombies from the roof. And so I don't know. I noticed that. I don't know if if it was Rick's fault because he was shooting the gun trying to save his life on the street, or it was Merle's fault because he was literally leading the walkers to the building.
Yeah. Okay. I did a little research because I was thinking about this too. I was thinking about, I don't know, why would Glenn reach out to Rick? What made him do that? Why would Rick trust Glenn? Why is Merle acting the way he is? All of this stuff. And I found this article about, it's called SOB. It's survival-oriented behavior. And the gist of it is in a survival situation, when it's life or death for you, you do tend to become more self-interested, you're more egotistical, you're more power-hungry, you're more about finding security. And so I was looking at the different characters, especially between Merle and Rick, where Merle is kind of savage, very racist, very
sexist.
Very
all the bad things.
All of it, yeah. Just awful. And Rick is on the other end of the spectrum where he's like, oh no, we include everyone, we are in this together. And I was kind of thinking, why are they approaching this in such different ways? And my theory, in my non-certified opinion, is a lot of it came down to who felt more secure. And that with Merle, he's extremely insecure in this situation. I think he seems like he comes from a lower class, and so he's probably been less secure his whole life. Where Rick has been a police officer, he's been a white male in this normal society,
he has
whatever.
A family.
He's got a family, he has a house, all of this stuff, and so I think it's interesting. Rick comes from kind of a more privileged position where he is able to not be quite as selfish because he feels more secure. Whereas Merle has been burned a lot in his life, probably, and is way less secure, and so he's way more ugly about it. Yeah,
that's interesting. I'm not sure, why they're both so different. I think they both have different personalities, but I would get the sense that if that happened, that everybody would be insecure, because I think Rick wakes up, the most insecure, starting off.
Yeah.
So, I'm not...
True. I also think, though, Rick still has this underlying identity as a cop.
That's true. That he wants to help people.
Yeah, it's still... cops don't really mean anything anymore, but there is this underlying... People know what a cop is. They know what it means. So he still has some sort of subconscious authority that makes him a little more secure.
Yeah, but there is also a difference between Rick and Shane and how they act, because Shane tends to... you can tell Shane wants to help people, but he's more interested in his self-interest. And I think, to some extent, Rick is more interested in his self-interest when it comes to his family. But, I think they both go at it differently in terms of their authority.
Yeah, totally.
For sure. All right, but I did want to mention, how Glenn stuck his neck out for Rick.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, I wonder why Glenn decided to do that. I mean, he mentioned it because Rick was like, you didn't have to save me. Why did you? And he was like, well, I think if I save someone, then they'll save me back, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, Rick has saved Glenn countless of times, but ultimately, Rick was sort of the reason for Glenn's death.
Oof.
So, but not like directly. So if you haven't watched it, I'm not going to spoil too much, but again, we all kind of know Glenn dies, okay? It was all over social media and stuff, but
if you haven't figured it out by now, it's your fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Watch the seasons, but Rick is sort of ultimately responsible for Glenn's death, and I thought about that today. I was like, huh.
Dang, I had never thought of that.
Like, would Glenn still be alive if he didn't save Rick?
Oof. You know, I don't know, because I think Rick also has saved him.
Yeah, multiple times.
He might have died sooner if he
that's
hadn't
true.
saved Rick.
So Rick just elongated his life.
Yeah.
It all revolves around Rick, right? I just thought that was interesting. But, like,
Yeah.
what does it like depend on personality, on whether you decide to help people past your self-interest, or does it depend on, like, your personality to, like, just focus on your self-interest before? Like, what circumstances have to happen in order for you to, like, actually help other people and for the greater good, or if you're just interested in yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of factors. I think probably a big one is the way you were raised and the beliefs that you've grown up with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because of the way I believe very much in charity and, you know, serving other people. But other people did not grow up in that. They have a different idea of what that is. And I see you wrote down karma. I wrote that down too, because it seems like some of the characters believe in karma like Glenn does. Because he's like, he says that I would want someone to do that for me if I was in that situation. And other people don't. I think it also has to do with age a little bit and the amount of time they've spent in that world. Because I think Rick's a little more trusting at the moment because he's very new to this still.
Yeah.
And Glenn's so young. He hasn't had a ton of life experience yet.
Yeah.
Where he probably does have this more optimistic view than Merle would.
Yeah, and, like, Merle, I imagine Glenn probably he had, like, a normal middle-class life, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he just delivered pizzas and was a kid, you know, before this all happened. But, like, Merle, you kind of learn more about Merle's and Daryl's backstory as the seasons go on, and it's not very good. So I do think it has to do with, like, who you are as a person. But then again, like, where's the line between, like, how someone can devolve into something like Shane does? How he was a cop, he had a good life, you know, he had the white male privilege, but then he devolved. But I just think that's interesting how different people respond to things differently, because if Merle saw Rick, he would not have helped him. He would have just gone on this merry way. So I think Rick's really lucky that Glenn was there to help. I think if anyone saw him, except for maybe T-Dog, maybe what's his name, Hernandez, maybe those two would help. But I don't think the others would.
I don't think, I think
the others there.
Andrea would leave him. She would not blink.
So just so you guys know, I despise Andrea. I will explain more about it the more episodes we get into, but I despise Andrea. But another thing I wanted to talk about was, like, fighting within the group. Obviously, like, stress and, like, stress for survival can cause contention.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it would be more important, like what Rick said, is that we need to stick together and not fight with each other. And I don't know. What do you think about that? Like,
I mean, I know I definitely think, of course we should stick together. That's the way you survive. And then I also think, I don't know, the way I always thought growing up was like, if push comes to shove, people will come together and help each other out. And in the last year, with, like, the pandemic, I have seen
people were
that has
looking
not
out
been
for
true
themselves
always.
And being selfish.
Like, there have been examples of people pulling together, but there's been a lot of examples, way more than I thought there would be, of people totally falling apart. Yeah,
and, like, you would think, like, oh, no one would hide a zombie bite. But then now we know the people that would hide a zombie bite, you know?
We know exactly who you are.
We know who you are. But like, those people probably would hide a zombie bite because they don't want to die yet. Yeah. They're carrying it. Like, Merle would definitely hide a zombie bite.
Yeah, he would.
It's just so fascinating, like, how, like, what causes people to fight, whether it's, like, for self-indulgent reasons or for protection. Like, T-Dog fought because he was like, this dude's being racist.
I do have a quick side note about that, because what I thought was really interesting is Merle said some super racist, not okay stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone freaked out. Nobody was going to stand for it. He got locked up.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, a few minutes later, he says some really crude, sexist stuff to Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
yeah,
pretty much sexual harassment. Nobody blinks an eye.
Mm.
And even Andrea doesn't really, like...
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't kind of give him a what for or anything. She's just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I don't know where I'd be going with that, but I just thought it was an interesting thing to observe. I was like...
That is interesting.
I wonder what the difference is.
I didn't notice that, but maybe it was because it was already locked up, and maybe because he was, like, being threatening towards T-Dog, and he wasn't, like, really being threatening towards Andrea.
Yeah,
I'm sure if he was, like, trying to, like, assault or beat up Andrea,
yes,
they would have done the same thing, but I think he was tied up and neutralized at the time. But that is an interesting thing to bring up, that, like, do we, as people, like, shut down things that aren't okay, but then we don't shut down things that aren't okay
that are
as
also
well?
not okay.
That are also not okay, yeah, like, where do we draw the line in our own lives and our own morality of, like, what do we shut down and what do we allow that isn't okay, you know?
Super interesting.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about, when do we allow someone to die for the greater good? I mean, they didn't mean to kill Merle, and they didn't end up actually killing Merle.
Yeah.
But, like, they thought he died. Like, they were like, he's dead. He's done so, okay?
Yeah. On
and
the
like,
list.
and when does it come to the point where, like, you have to decide, okay, this person is endangering the group, like this, and we do it today, you know?
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't necessarily agree with the death penalty most of the time that it's used, but people that will just kill others or you know, hurt others relentlessly without any remorse, and they just care about themselves, like, when does it come to a point where we decide enough is enough, and they either need to be locked up or they need to be killed? I prefer rehabilitation if they choose to be rehabilitated and if they can, but when does it get to that point where, like, you have to just say, enough, we need to survive, and you're not pulling your weight, you're not doing your part to be a part of us, you know?
Yeah. I think it can be for better or for worse. In this situation, it maybe was for the better, because Merle was tearing the group apart and was literally, like, threatening their lives.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. And so, yeah, I think they were a little more inclined to leave him behind. Even if it was by accident, I don't think they tried as hard to save him as they might have if it was Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aw, Glenn.
Oh, no.
I also, that did just now make me kind of think about other situations where maybe someone isn't going with the crowd and get punished for it, but maybe the crowd wasn't doing a good thing. If you have, like, a group in the apocalypse. Yeah, yeah. If you have, like, spoiler alert, like Negan doing awful crap, if anyone went against him,
we would kill them,
they were
or
dead
imprison them.
Because they were threatening his power.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
It like, I believe we all have a basis of morality within us, and, like, for some reason we have circumstances and things that make us lose that. I believe morality is a luxury that we have most of the time. But, yeah, that's interesting. Like, when do you decide, like, to go with the group, whether they're doing good or bad things? I mean, like, people trusted Rick, and he made some questionable decisions as well.
He does some kind of
scary
stuff.
Even though we're rooting for this group, like,
yeah.
And they mention it in the most recent season, like, I think Carol, I hate Carol too, by the way, but I think she mentions, like, are we the heroes or are we the villains? Yeah. And Daryl's like, I don't know, we're just us.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And by that point, you don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, anyone's the heroes versus the Whisperers.
Or are they?
No, they're icky people, okay?
Telltale series, though.
Yeah.
Talks about the Whisperers.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, I also wanted to talk about volunteering others versus volunteering yourself. Because Glenn, like, he just gets volunteered to do things that he's not comfortable doing. And, like, I don't think he ever, like, stands up for himself about that. No. Like, Maggie wants him to, like, when he meets Maggie and they get married and stuff, and, like, she's like, you don't have to go out and do these things for them. And he's like, I have to, because I'm a good person and these people need supplies, you know?
Yeah.
Or we need to get this walker out of this well and I'm the bait, you know? and like we need to go down into the sewer to see if there's tunnels so we can get out of here. And like everyone looked at him, like, and Rick didn't even know him, and he was like, you saved me, you're good at this.
Yeah, like,
you know, it was immediately like, we're volunteering him because he's good at it. But like, I don't know, it makes me wonder, like, where's the morality in that, and like being able to volunteer someone else versus you volunteering yourself, like, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it comes back down to where are you at? Are you more worried about preserving yourself, or are you more worried about the greater good, I suppose?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Glenn, I don't know, there's a lot of situations I've seen in different movies or whatever where someone needs to go into this small space and, there's only a child here.
Yeah.
You gotta send the child.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I think it's tricky because on one hand, you're kind of relying on the people around you to be in the same mindset of like, yeah, we will take some risks for each other here.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's not fair to just consistently assume, oh, Glenn's fine with this either.
Well, like, and how many times do we do that? Like, I've been pushed around a lot. Like, I've been, like, the punching bag and, like, the person that gets teased a lot in a lot of my friend groups, right? And then people would just assume that I'm okay with it, but then someone says something that actually hurts me. And I'm like, that wasn't okay. But then they're like, it's Zach, he's fine. He's resilient, you know? And I kind of see myself in Glenn where it's, I see times where I need to, like, stand up for myself and defend myself. If I'm being abused or if I'm being mistreated, I'm not going to do it. But then again, it's kind of a higher stakes moment because they're going to die if someone doesn't do it.
Someone has to. Mm-hmm. I would like to think that I would be considerate and be like, are you okay with this? But I also could totally see myself if I thought Glenn was the only one that could do it, and I've got this group of people, I'm trying to get to my family, or whatever, and if he says no, I feel like I'd be pretty pissed at him for that, too. Like, I'd like to say I'm nicer than that, but at the end of the day, I'm like, if you can do it, you have to think about the other people around you. It's like
asking for a shift off, and you know that someone can do it, and you need it off, and you're like, please, and they're like, nah, you know?
Yeah,
and I've done that, too.
You're not obligated to say yes, but I still am upset that you didn't say yes.
Exactly. But I think the funny thing is like, I don't think it was because of his size, because they picked, like, the biggest guy there, aside from T-Dog.
Yeah.
Hernandez. Is that his name? I wrote it down, because...
I feel like it might not be Hernandez.
I don't know. You guys know who I'm talking... Morales, okay. Morales. And they send him down. Well, Glenn picks him. And I love this part, because you see Glenn's, like, leadership skills right off the bat.
Yeah.
And, like, you see that he has such good potential to be a leader, but, like... people don't see him as a leader except for Rick. Rick was like, all right, we all know our jobs, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I love Rick and Glenn's relationship that grows throughout the series because it's just so good.
Oh, it's so good.
But, and you see Glenn's potential to be a leader, and no one believes in him except for Maggie and Rick.
Yeah.
And like, maybe Herschel, you know, later on. Everyone else is like, hey, Glenn's the freaking scout guy, you know?
I will say, though, some people are very comfortable being a leader, and then there's people like me. I know if I was in the apocalypse, I would not want to be the leader. There's no way. I would very much want to be like, I'm going to find a safe person to follow, and I will follow them, and I am happy to do my little job, but I do not want to lead.
And I think leadership is like a scale, right? I think that there's not just leaders and just followers. Like there's like in-betweens of where people feel comfortable leading. I don't think I could be like a Rick or a Shane, but I think I could probably be like maybe a Dale or a Daryl, you know, someone that's like next to the leader, but I'm not making all the decisions,
like,
you know?
I don't
think I could make all the decisions. Like, I'm there if they want to delegate me leadership, and I'm like, okay, I'll delegate more leadership, but I don't want to be the guy that's like, let's go kill some saviors, let's go kill Negan, you know?
At you.
Yeah, because like Rick gets blamed for so much, but like Rick, I feel like doesn't get enough credit for how much he's done for his group, you know?
No, it's true.
Because everyone's like, Rick, you killed these people, and he's like, but you're still alive, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so back to that question, then I think it's about delegation and equal delegation, maybe? Where it's fine to volunteer Glenn, but you also gotta volunteer other people for other things.
And then there's also people that want more responsibility, but don't get the responsibility, like Andrea. And that's not why I hate Andrea. I hate selfishness, and I think Andrea and Carol are selfish. They tend to be more selfish, especially towards the end of their careers, I guess. I don't know what happens to Carol. I'm still in the middle of season 10. But I wanted to touch we've touched on a little bit on this of like racism and sexism. And Rick really makes you realize, like, racism and sexism is stupid and, like, bigotry is stupid.
Yeah.
But, like, he really makes you realize how stupid it is.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally trying to survive, and Merle's talking about race and calling him the N-word, and, like, Rick freaking knocks him down and handcuffs him, and he's like, there are no N-words anymore. There's us and them. There's white meat and dark meat.
Yeah.
And, like, and it really, like, sets the tone of like, okay, this is who Rick is. Like you really see that Rick wasn't a bigot before and he's not a bigot now.
Yeah.
Like he cares about people and he cares about society. He's one of the good cops, guys.
He's a good cop.
He's a good cop.
And until he turns into a scary...
He turns into a scary person.
Cop.
But then again, he's not a cop at that point.
No,
he's only a cop for like the first season, maybe the second one, and then he's kind of an animal
after that.
removes that title from himself.
Yeah.
And then Carl wears his hat. So
freaking Carl.
Coral.
Coral.
I have a goal to say that every episode.
Got thrown in there.
Yeah. I want to ask, why did he trust T-Dog with the key? He could have given it to anyone that like would have been more inclined to let Merle free. He could have kept it.
Yeah.
But like, why did he trust T-Dog with the key? Did he like know T-Dog was a good person and would try to save him, or was he like, I'm gonna trust T-Dog with the key because I don't care if this guy lives or dies. And if T-Dog lets him die, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I
think it has to do... I think it's kind of because T-Dog was the wronged party in the situation.
So he got the decision on whether or not for Merle to be punished.
Because I think Rick... I don't know. In that situation, I feel like I'm kind of like, well, I'm a white woman. I've never really gotten discriminated for the color of my skin. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what the appropriate punishment is for that.
Yeah.
That's better to give that responsibility to the person that it does know
Merle,
what it's like.
T-Dog was the one that Merle beat up too.
And like, if someone else was to let Merle free and T-Dog was not okay with that, that would be an issue.
Well, I'm sure T-Dog like feared for his life, and I'm sure Glenn feared for his life. Like, we didn't see Glenn and Merle interact. When they were at the campfire, and a few episodes later, they were talking about how they're going to have to deal with Daryl coming back and seeing Merle gone. And then T-Dog was like, I'll tell him. And then Glenn was like, you're not going to tell him. I think he was probably racist to Glenn, and I think it could have been a dangerous situation if Merle continued to be in the group with other races with him.
Totally. I did have this thought. I wondered what would have happened if T-Dog had been able to free him at the end. Obviously, T-Dog tried to, didn't succeed. But if he had successfully freed Merle at the end, I wonder... I don't think that would fix everything. I don't think Merle would suddenly be like, I'm not racist anymore. But I also do wonder if that might have started a process for Merle of kind of rethinking the way he's looking at people.
But because he dropped the key, Merle was like, you dropped it on purpose.
Yeah.
Like after he dropped the key, it was that relationship was gone for good. Like, no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if Merle would have changed his mind about his racism gradually if he saw how good of a person T-Dog was, how good of a person Glenn was, how good of a person, like if he ever met Michonne, how good of a person Michonne was.
Yeah. There's also a small part of me that also wonders if it would have solidified it more for him in this weird sort of like, you're below me and of course you saved me because I'm better.
Yeah, I wouldn't have saved you because I'm above you.
Yeah,
you know?
like, who knows?
Yeah. I want to talk about optimism versus pessimism. Because immediately Andrea's like, we're going to die. Like, we're screwed because we're surrounded by zombies. But then T-Dog and some other people are like, no, we can figure this out. Let's try to figure this out. And I wonder where the line is in terms of, like, when do you become pessimistic versus optimistic in this world? Because Rick is still pretty optimistic. Like, he's still like, I'm going to find my family. I know they're alive. And I'm like, you don't know. Like, you just saw a ton of dead people out there, and you're convinced that your wife and son are alive. Like, I feel like if I was in that situation, I'd be like, they're probably dead.
Yeah, I don't think I would be quite
even
so
if they
hopeful.
took the photo albums, like, he saw the line of cars coming from Atlanta. Like,
like
they're probably, like, I'd be like, they're dead, okay? I just have to live with that or die, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Rick is pretty optimistic for what he's gone through so far, And I'm just like, I think that also depends on personality as well, like how optimistic and pessimistic we were before, because I know I'd be pessimistic right away. I'd be like,
you'd be Mr. Doomsday. I'm sorry.
I would be pessimistic right away. I would be like at least until there was some form of like society, like Alexandria or the hilltop, then I'd be like, okay, we can make this work. But if we're just roaming and we're just we're dead. Killing zombies and just trying to go day by day, I'm gonna be so pessimistic. I'm just gonna be like, life is meaningless, you know? But like, yeah.
Yeah, I also think I've kind of started learning for myself, at least for me, my pessimism has been more of an extra layer of protection in a way where it's easier to say my family's dead and deal with it and grieve and move on.
Yeah.
Rather than to get your hopes up only to have this crushing moment of, oh, they're dead later.
Yeah.
And it's more painful to hope.
Rick got really lucky.
He got
if
freaking lucky.
He would have seen like their dead bodies after believing that they were like alive, it would have crushed him way faster than he was crushed before.
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder to be hopeful than it is to be pessimistic. I think
even in this world, like it's so
even
hard.
Now I'm still
like with like climate change and everything going on, like we do live in a pretty good world, but like there are some daunting things that are happening and could happen that like a lot of us are still pessimistic about.
Yeah.
And it's not zombie apocalypse level, but it's still like pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean I think it's way easier to go, we're gonna burn in 40 years than to sit there and go, oh no, maybe we can do something about it. I gotta stress about it for the rest of my life. It's a coping
mechanism, you know?
Yeah.
And I actually, now that I think about it, Andrew was probably like, we're gonna die, I don't want to stress about leaving, I don't want to like...
Yeah, I think she's...
later in the season she wants to die as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the difference between optimism and pessimism is interesting because we want them to have hope as like people watching them, but like if we were in that circumstance, it would be so hard to have hope.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't be alive.
I would keep cracking jokes. I'm
sorry, I would not want to be in your group. I feel like
you would want to be in my group, okay?
I feel like
I would be a really good person because I would just
I'd be
jokes,
like crying 24/7, and you'd be like, "Stop crying!" And then
that's also
you'd
true.
make a joke, and I'd be like, "Stop! This is serious."
Crying is loud, okay? See, I already know the survival tactics. You're good.
Maybe I gotta join the group. Okay.
You gotta join the group. Also, Alina's in there. And if I die, you can go be a witch with Alina.
You gotta run away
Start
with
your
Alina.
own group, own culty group, and fight with the Whispers.
This is the perfect transition into the Shane, Lori, Rick dynamic.
Yeah. So, you're not married. I'm married.
Thanks for rubbing it in. Gosh.
I didn't know you wanted to be married.
You're alone. I'm not.
You're alone. I'm not. No, I wanted to preface this because we got to talk about, it was only one scene, one of the only sex scenes in the whole series, but it's still pretty like heavy and graphic, like
pretty sexy.
Well, first of all, he scares her, which why would you scare anyone? Like scaring people now, like okay, 50-50, it's going to be something real, and it's going to be something... But it's like 99% that was a walker.
Some dude tries to scare me in the forest, I'm not... No.
Yeah,
There's no way I'm, like, going to laugh about it.
First of all, Shane's foreplay, not good, okay? But I just... Shane doesn't know that Rick is actually dead. He just left him in the hospital. We think that Shane thinks that Rick is dead. But, like... And he obviously told Lori that Rick is dead. But, like, he doesn't know. And so I wonder if that's eating away at him. Like, maybe Rick could still be alive. But, or, I don't know.
Or I do wonder if he's, like, he's pretty much... he's as good as dead. He's in a coma.
Yeah, he's in a coma. Things were going south in the hospital when he left. Like, it's a pretty safe assumption. It's like a 9 out of 10 assumption that Rick is dead.
Yeah.
And, so, like, where is the line to have, like, a romantic relationship with, like, someone if you think that your spouse or whoever your partner was with is dead, you know? I personally think that, like, if you think that your lover or partner or spouse is dead, then, you know, and romantic relationships can be used to cope during these dark times. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's really easy to watch the show and to be really judgy and to kind of be like, oh, they couldn't keep it in their pants. They're having an affair.
But like,
Shane's so selfish.
You all would do the same thing.
I
Don't
know
at
you
me.
would.
Don't at me with that, okay?
You would sleep everywhere.
Sleep everywhere.
Everywhere with everyone. But I think in this apocalypse world, relationships would develop way faster, and you would have to...
Yeah, because you want to be close, and you want to be protected. And I'm sure, like, they were both looking for protection.
Yeah.
And for,
And Shane does a lot of good things. Like, he's not perfect. Very much not perfect.
Yeah.
But he does do some good things. Like, he protects Lori and Carl. He becomes kind of the surrogate father figure to Carl, who I'm sure Lori's very grateful for that. And Carl
she was
too.
grateful
She
for
was.
it, but...
Not no longer. But...
Yeah.
No, I think it's actually, like, I don't know. I think it's actually a pretty reasonable thought process.
100%.
I don't know if I could do it, just because...
Well, I mean, she had to take off the necklace with the ring on it,
gosh,
and, like,
yeah,
the locket. Like, when I saw that, I was like, no!
Rip.
And,
but, like,
because she still has that connection with Rick, and I think maybe, like, she wanted Rick so bad, and, like, Shane was the next best thing.
Yeah, totally. No, Rick and
Shane... They were best friends. They were partners together as cops, Like,
yeah, it's like...
Shane was the next best thing.
Yeah, I totally think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that Shane and Rick are so connected, that she's like, oh yeah, this can work too.
And we see them butt heads a little bit in the first episode with, like, Lori wanting to go put signs out on the freeway and Shane not wanting to, but he's, like, nice to Carl. He provides, and he's like buds with Carl,
Yeah,
and
it's really cute.
Yeah, it's super cute. And then Rick comes, and then she's like, bye, Shane.
Yeah. Oh,
it'd be really tricky, and it would be really difficult. I think it's so easy for us to judge her, but and Shane, of course, but, like, I don't know.
But I think in this high-stakes situation, I mean, they don't know, they might die tomorrow. Like,
yeah.
It's very immediate. They want very immediate gratification. They want immediate results of whatever they're doing. They don't have time to do it for the long run. So, like, I'm lonely, my dead husband's friend is cute.
And who knows what happened to Shane's wife?
What?
I don't know.
Was he married?
Yeah, he was married, or at least was living with someone. Because, like, in the first episode, Rick and Shane have that conversation before the outbreak. Before Rick gets shot, where he's talking about how she doesn't turn off lights.
Weird. I wonder why. I mean, obviously, I guess Lori and Rick maybe have a more deep relationship than Shane and whoever. But where's Shane's little necklace that he has to put aside to sleep with Lori?
Yeah, I want Shane to put off his necklace or his ring.
Why is it only
Put that
Lori?
aside. Yeah. No, we completely forgot about his wife.
I did
or
not
his girlfriend or whatever, But, like, it makes me wonder. I want to see a backstory. Like, what actually happened with Shane? Like, did he leave her? Did he see an opportunity? Yeah. Was he, like, looking at Lori the whole time? Or was he just, like, did for some reason he saw his wife die? He was like, hey, gonna go check on my best friend. And then sees that, and then, like, tries to get him out of the hospital. Can't do it. And then it was like, okay, my wife's dead. My best friend's probably dead. I'm gonna go for my best friend's wife.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm gonna be there. They need someone. I'll be there for him.
It makes me wonder. It seems a little shady that he just appeared to Lori.
I also think, I wonder if part of it is also the way society and media kind of still, it's getting better slowly, but surely, hopefully, does still kind of put some responsibility on the woman for this kind of stuff. Where it's like, oh, like, Lori allowed this to happen. Yeah. Lori was the one that made this go down. And Lori's the one that has to consider Rick and stuff. But Shane can get away with sleeping with Lori, and none of us are thinking, what about his partner or whatever?
Yeah, well, like, yeah.
I don't know.
No, and they don't even mention her at all in the script.
No, they don't.
But, like, I want to know. I want to know what happened. Because we know Shane is capable of some pretty nasty things. But, like, was he capable then?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
I want the spinoff.
Where is it? Yo, get my boy. I can't remember his name, but I love him.
My boy that...
Get my boy that plays Shane and Punisher and do a spinoff, please.
I want it. Because he's a good actor.
He is good. He's really good. Shout out to him. Ooh, I don't remember his name.
He's like, who do you think you are?
Yeah. No, you think he'll listen to this?
Totally.
He might listen to it. I don't know.
One day,
I don't know
in like 20 years.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's got other things going on. I also wanted to bring up, in our world, obviously, it's not okay to cheat.
Yeah.
But, like, where's the line with, like, divorce? Is it okay to have romantic partners when you're getting a divorce?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't think it is, but it's such a situational thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the first thing that popped into my head was, have you watched Friends?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Long story short, this is a spoiler, but Friends is, like, decades old, so you should, I don't know. I don't
If you want to watch it, watch
it. But Ross and Rachel, who are, like, the main couple that everyone's constantly like, will they, won't they date for a little bit in the show, and then they have a fight, and they say they're on a break, and Ross goes and sleeps with someone else. And then Rachel's pissed about it, obviously, I would be too, and his defense the whole time was like, we were on a break, and stuff. But it's this devastating, surprisingly, like, really serious moment in the show that's usually really funny. And it causes them to, like, really break up forever because of this. Until they get back together, because it's Friends. But, I don't know, I just think, like, when I watched that, I thought Ross was totally in the wrong. That's not okay. Even though they were on a break. I feel like... I guess it just depends, how done are you? Like, is there still
I think it depends on the parameters of the break. Like, because a break isn't breaking up. Like, I think breaking up is different.
Yeah.
Like, but then there's also the thing of, like, how long do you wait? After your spouse dies, how long do you wait? After you're divorced, how long do you wait? Because, like, people have different opinions on, like, my aunt died, and my uncle, like, married someone, like, 2 months later.
Wow.
And, like, a lot of people in my family were really upset about it.
Yeah.
Some people didn't care. But, like, I just thought it was... I just think it's interesting, like... Because the line is different for everyone. Like, how long do you wait? What are the circumstances? Like, some people think that unless the divorce is finalized, you can't have any romantic partners.
Shouldn't.
But then, like, I'm of the opinion, like, if you want to, like, date, you know, and have other romantic partners while you're going through a divorce, like, you're already going through the divorce. You guys are already done. You know, it's basically like a breakup with extra steps.
Right.
Like, if to break up, you just have to say, I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah. I think... It depends. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah,
I think the main things are, like, how much respect do you have for the other person? Is if you're divorcing someone, you know, but you've spent a lot of time with them, I think it's pretty disrespectful to just jump into another relationship.
Because then that makes you think, like, oh, like, were they looking at this person?
Oh,
like,
they didn't
what
care
happened?
about me at all.
You know?
Like, what was I to one? Like, I think that's a really hurtful thing to do. Because even if you're not in love anymore, I think there does need to be a level of respect.
And there's also that thing where it's like, if one person cheated and then you start to get a divorce, and then the other person, like, starts having romantic partners.
Yeah, then I'm kind of like,
and then it's like, you cheated.
That might be fair game.
Like,
you know?
you cheated and you're getting a divorce. Like,
yeah, like, you can't be
they
mad
were
about
faithful
that.
and you were not, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very circumstantial and very situational, I think. But I just think it's interesting because, like, we're watching this in a zombie apocalypse, but this happens frequently today.
Totally.
So... All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, the dehumanization of zombies, because this is one of the times where they humanize a zombie.
Yeah.
And I think it might be, well, they've had, like, 3 months, except for Rick. Rick is just day one. He's day one.
Fresh from the womb.
Yeah, day 1, maybe 2 of you know, dealing with this, and everyone else is 3 months. They're about ready to, like, gut these zombies.
Yeah.
And then he stops and he, like, looks at the wallet. He's like, this was his name.
Oh, yeah.
He had
Wayne.
Whatever. And I'm like, and then it stops. It stops almost immediately after that, you know?
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, you know, how long it would take. And I talked about this with Alina in the last episode of, like, there was a difference between Morgan killing other walkers versus killing his wife, Walker.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, the first and last time where we see them humanize them.
Yeah, totally. I think a big thing is
not the last time. There's a few
of
moments,
them. Yeah. But I don't think it's possible. It'd be okay for them to humanize every single walker they came across.
No, because you gotta live. And
you gotta live. Like, you can't spend all day identifying people.
Yeah.
And that's also a huge emotional toll. Like, and we don't have the energy to cry
have
over
funerals over
person.
every single walker that died.
Yeah,
you know?
and same with, like, even today, nurses. You know, my mom's a nurse, and she's gotten attached to certain patients. She's connected with certain patients, and when they've passed away, she's come home and cried about it. But every day she sees, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patients all the time that she doesn't connect with, and when they pass away, she goes, yeah, they died. That's really hard. But she moves on. Yeah. And she can't let every single patient just, like,
you have to
her
move
world.
on. If death is that prominent in your life, like, you can't dwell on every, like, like a mortician, you can't be sad all the time as a mortician. I had another dead body come in today. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't know
it's like, don't be a mortician if you're
in the wrong job.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's interesting about that. And like how they give them nicknames. I really like geeks, but they don't use geeks a lot.
I wish they used geeks more.
I wish they used geeks more too. But like walkers, geeks, they like dehumanize them immediately when they... I mean, of course you don't want to say, hey, we got these dead humans over here.
Yeah, we got
it's
this
like, what do you mean dead
mother
humans?
And child
then they're like,
over.
well, you know, like the dead ones, like are they dead or are they walking? Like the walking.
The walking
ones, yeah. So
I did look into a little bit because the other thing I noticed in this episode was they talked a little bit about names, and there's an importance and value in names in this episode. At the beginning, Rick asks Glenn over the radio, like, "What's your name?" And Glenn's like, "You need to go, like, go survive."
Yeah.
He totally avoids it. He's like, "I'm not telling you." He doesn't tell Rick his name until he's finished saving Rick, and he's kind of like, "Oh, Rick might be around for a bit." Okay. And then same with identifying the body that they get the guts from.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, let's learn this guy's name. Now we're going to go hack up a bunch of bodies. We're not going to...
Yeah, we're not going to care.
Thank every single one for their sacrifice. But I think... I don't know, it's kind of like the same thing as when you name a pet, or, you know, if you're going hunting, you don't name every single deer you come across that you're going to shoot.
Because it's like you have this connection with this pet. Yeah. But like, you know, I spray pest control, and I don't care about the bugs I spray or like the mice I bait and kill, you know? Like, even if I had a mouse as a pet, I still wouldn't care about
there's like
those other mice.
There's just like, you have to compartmentalize. I totally said that wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, even if I had a chicken as a pet and I loved that chicken, I would still eat chicken.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I love chickens, by the way, and eating chicken.
All the chickens in the world
are
going to rebel against this podcast. Like,
it's only 2 episodes, listen. Real quick, I just want to talk about, I love the line where Andrea's like looking at the necklace. And then she's like, I want it. And then he's like, take it. And she's like, that's stealing. And he's like, those rules don't apply anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And I just love how like Rick totally could have been like, no stealing. Once we get this back in order, we're gonna, like, you're gonna return that. And we need to like get everything back in order. But Rick was like, man, there's dead people knocking on the door. Like, I don't care.
There's an individual we both know that I 100% see doing that.
Yeah.
Anywho, but yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but I wanted to kind of mention it, how it takes some people longer to get rid of these societal norms. Like, I'm sure, like, it would take so many people so long to get rid of, like, money in their head.
Yeah.
Like, you know, someone does something nice for you, like, let me pay you, oh wait, that doesn't matter anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So I just think it's interesting the time it takes for people to pull those societal things away. All right, well, I'm going to leave you guys with a short musical break, and we'll come back with another moral dilemma that you guys can comment on. See you soon. And we're back. So this moral dilemma I want to ask you, Olivia, kind of coincides with what we talked about in The Greater Good. Who do we kill? Who do we decide to save? And it's the trolley dilemma.
Oh, no.
Anyone that knows philosophy or anything, it's a pretty well-known trolley moral dilemma where one person is tied to the tracks and 4 people are tied to a separate line of tracks, and you're by the switch. And you have to hit the switch, but if you do, it'll kill 4 people, and if you don't, it'll only kill 1 person. So, is human life quantified? What determines whether to keep those people alive or not?
Ooh. There's so many things to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, obviously, my first thought is, well, is the one person a family member?
Yeah.
Like, what is my relationship with the people involved?
Mm-hmm.
And
you would say family and people you're closest to first.
Yeah, I think it's so hard because I want to say I'd be noble and value saving more people over saving my people, but I honestly think I would end up saving my people over others, which is awful to say. And
then it depends, like, you know, what if that one person is a really good person and, like, does a lot of good in the world, and then, like, those 4 people, like,
It's a bunch of serial killers.
It's a bunch of serial killers, you know,
I'd
things
kill
like
the
that.
serial killers.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean,
or
like
what I don't know. I think age is a thing too in my head. Of like,
I never thought about that before.
like if it's a bunch of children versus an adult,
Mm.
I gotta save the children, even if the adult is someone I love. I think.
What if it's 4 elders and 1 adult?
Whew. I might save the adult. That's so awful.
So the older you are, the less your life means?
I guess that's what your life doesn't mean less, but you have less of it to live than another person.
Oh my gosh. I didn't think about that before.
I feel awful, but that's where my brain works,
I mean,
guess.
this dilemma is designed to make you feel that way. It's designed to make you feel like first thing is like, okay, I saved the 4 people, but then it's like, what about this? You know, you have other factors and stuff. Like whether they were good people, whether their age.
Are they going to solve cancer one day?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But you don't know that, you know? So, interesting. Thanks for answering. Even though I made you feel awful.
All the old people in the world are going to come for me.
They're going to come for you now. All right, awesome. Well, we'll just wrap up now. Tell me what you guys think. What would you do in that situation with the trolley dilemma? What are the different circumstances we need to take into consideration when discussing this, and who lives and who dies and who gets hit by the train? You can go ahead and comment on Twitter and Instagram. Our Instagram is Feed Don't Eat Your Brain, and our Twitter is Zachy the Zombie. You can also review. Reviews help us a lot as well as subscribe to our channel on whatever you're listening to. That will help as well, so we can start getting patrons, and we can start getting money to make these episodes better and to give you guys more content to listen to. Also, you can feel free to email at feeddon'teatyourbrain@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that. I'm all free to listen to whatever you guys have to say. And also follow Fortune Horseman on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. This was provided by Fortune Horseman. So thank you guys for listening. Have a good night. Hopefully we don't have to deal with these moral dilemmas anytime soon. So, or have a good night, day, whatever time you're listening to this. Thank you guys.